You were right about one thing, though. This is my game, and I'm changing the rules.
This is the story of Caught in the Hunt, taking place during the events of Oblivion, and its secret ending not many people know of how to escape the horrific death run early.
Greetings, Imperial Brother.
As we enter the swampy city of Bravil, nestled in the Niben River, and marked by its many canals, we enter its large doors and see a female breton commoner asking for help and being turned away by a guard.
Excuse me, my lord.
Curious as to why this poor lady is ankle deep in mud and wandering about, and more importantly, desperately seeking aid, we approach her and she pleads.
Excuse me, my lord. I'm sorry to impose upon you like this, but I'm in need of assistance and I don't know what to do. My husband, Alaron, is missing.
This then initiates the quest, Caught in the Hunt. We then inquire, when did Alaron go missing?
It all started when Alaron became foolish and started gambling. He'd visit the arena every week and spend our hard-earned money on bets. I told him to stop, but he didn't listen. He was certain he could win us a fortune and move us somewhere nicer, like the Imperial City. It didn't take long for Alaron to begin losing. He resorted to borrowing money from a usurer to cover his losses and place new bets. As you can imagine, it didn't pay off. He ended up owing around 500 gold. We could never have that kind of money to pay back the usurer.
Wow, 500 septims isn't a drop in the pond. Tell me, what then happened to Alaron?
Yesterday, the usurer, Kurdan Dragal, sent for my husband to meet him at the Lonely Suitor Lodge. He hasn't returned since. I fear for his life. Kurdan isn't known for his patience. Please, I'm not wealthy, but I'd give anything to see Alaron again.
Interestingly, speaking to Ursan further about her missing husband has already initiated the quests, and we cannot turn her away at this point, instead saying, "Alright, I'll help you find your missing husband."
You will? Oh, thank you. Please be careful. I don't wish any harm to befall you either.
Asking for further information about the missing Alaron, Ursan simply threatens.
I do miss him so. And when he gets back, I'm gonna kill him for making me worry like this.
Exiting the conversation, Ursan will leave us with a final caution.
Farewell and be careful. Kurdan is not to be trusted.
If we attempt to probe the distressed Breton further, she will simply admit.
I'm afraid there isn't much else to tell you. Just be careful.
After Alaron's worried wife's final warning, we begin our search and our quest updates reading. Alaron owed a great deal of money to an orc usurer named Kurdan Dragal. He went there a day ago to beg for more time, and hasn't returned since. Kurdan Dragal usually frequents the Lonely Suitor Lodge, which is close by. Perhaps I should pay him a visit. Indeed, during the dead of night, we cross one of Bravil's many waterways and find to the southwest a looming building, the Lonely Suitor Lodge, a less than reputable-looking establishment.
Evening.
Entering the establishment, we're greeted by its proprietor, Bogram Galash. Heading up to the second floor where the guests sleep, inside a room to the east, we find the correct orc, the burly Kurdan Dragal, who looms motionless. Approaching him, he curtly questions.
Yeah, what do you want?
Then we inform Kurdan that we have a mutual acquaintance, one Alaron Loesch.
None of your damn business. I'd tell you if I liked you, and I don't.
We're then forced to raise Kurdan's disposition through the speechcraft minigame.
So?
Kurdan appreciates most when his palm is laced with a few septims.
Excellent, I accept.
Once his disposition's above 60, he says.
Can't do better than that.
And then once again we can broach the topic of Alaron Loesch and his whereabouts, to which he replies.
Maybe I know him, maybe I don't. But since you're so interested, I know something that could jar my memory.
Oh? So, what's that, pray tell?
I just learned that a family heirloom, the axe of Dragal, which one of my stupid relatives lost, is located on Fort Grief Island in Niben Bay. My informant tells me it's hidden in the main keep at the center. Don't know what's guarding it, but I'm sure you can handle it. If you go there and bring it back to me, I'll tell you exactly where Alaron is.
And what happens to Alaron if I don't return it?
Then Alaron may not be coming home from his, journey for a very long time. Like, permanently. Whenever you're ready, and it better be soon, I'll have a boat waiting for you to get to Fort Grief Island.
Our quest then updates, and it seems we have terms for Alaron's release, and we ask, can you tell me more about this Axe of Dragol?
Yeah, it's a battle axe with the word Dragol carved into the haft. Huge, you can't miss it. I ain't gonna draw you a picture.
With Kurdan's patience wearing thin, we don't want to press our luck and ask one final question. Please, for his wife's sake, tell me, is Alaron safe?
Time's wasting. He's safe for now.
At this point, the usurer has nothing left to say, and speaking to him, he'll simply ask,
Are you ready to go to the boat?
Realizing at best we speak to Ursan before we look for a husband, we say, no, actually we need some time, not yet.
Fine, but you better not take too long. I want that axe, and I want it now. Don't you have something to find?
With terms for Alaron's release, we have no choice but return to Ursan with the grim news.
Good to see you.
Our quest and updates reading. Kurdan Dragol has told me that he knows the location of Alaron Loesch, and, if I want him to reveal it to me, I'll have to retrieve an axe that belonged to his father and was lost on Fort Grief Island some time ago. If I don't bring the axe back, he says that Alaron will die. When I'm ready, I need to speak to Kurdan, who will provide a boat for me. In the second row of houses on the north end of Bravil, we find the Loesch residence. Entering, we find Alaron's wife, Ursan, pacing about. Approaching her, she desperately queries,
Any word of Alaron? I'm hoping you bring me good news.
Look, Ursan, I apologize, but did your husband ever mention an Axe of Dragol?
Alaron never mentioned it to me before.
Out of options, we then explain the sordid details of Alaron's gambling debt gone awry.
I knew it. I just knew he'd gotten himself in hot water again. Please hurry.
With nothing left to say and the actress's voice line cut off, Ursan bids us farewell, warning.
Farewell and be careful. Kurdan is not to be trusted.
Now caught firmly in this messy affair, to aid Ursan finding a husband, we have no choice but to return to Kurdan and to seek out his axe. Approaching the orc usurer a second time on the second floor of the Lonely Suitor Lodge,
How are you?
he gruffly questions.
You bothering me again? Are you ready to go to the boat?
With Ursan's warning ringing in our ears, we warily agree. Yes, I'm ready.
Fine. I have it waiting for you at the dock next to the magic shop. Now get out of my sight.
Kurdan then leaves us with some parting words.
Lucky I'm not making you swim.
Already missing the orc's cheery disposition, we then make our way down to the docks.
How goes it?
And our quest updates reading, Kurdan Dragol told me that the boat is waiting for me at the dock next to the magic shop here in Bravil. I should get underway soon, as I wish to find out what's happened to Alaron. Indeed, we find, as promised, at the bottom of a dock a solitary boat that looks quite rickety. Sensing mischief afoot, we take one last look at the lodge before heading down the niben towards Fort Grief Island. Reaching the destination, our quest and updates reading, I've arrived at Fort Grief. I should proceed inside the ruined keep and begin my search for the axe. Stepping off the weather-worn dock, we momentarily gain our bearings. To the southwest is the city of Bravil whence we came, and to the northwest, over our shoulder, the imperial city up the niben. A solitary statue overlooks the bay, and in front of us we see a dilapidated fortress. Behind its large metal bars, there is a blood stain, and we find that the gate is opened elsewhere. Turning just to our right, we find the lever. And stepping inside the fortress, we see a skull on the ground, gore caked on the walls and bodies strewn about. A sign, unfortunately, of things to come. As we step past shackles on the wall, poor Alaron stands by himself, alone amidst the bodies. Approaching him near his questionable makeshift camp, he simply says,
Oh no.
Seeing the terror etched on the Breton's face, we know something is terribly amiss, to which he reveals.
It appears as though Kurdan has tricked another poor soul with his axe story.
Axe story? What are you talking about? The Axe of Dragol he sent me to find.
You haven't guessed it yet? There never was any axe of Dragol. It was just a ruse to lure you out here. I fell for the same trick. In my case, he told me if I retrieved the axe, he'd erase my debts. I was such an idiot to believe him. You're now the prey in Kurdan's insane hunt, just like I am. And here we'll most likely die.
Stunned at this revelation, we momentarily pause to gather our bearings, while Alaron insists.
Hear me out before you leave.
Our quest then updates reading. To my surprise, I've come across Alaron Loesch inside the ruined keep of Fort Grief. He told me that the search for the axe is a ruse that Kurdan Grodrigol uses to lure people into the ruins. Apparently, Alaron and I are now the prey in a bizarre hunting sport that Kurdan created. I should talk to Alaron and find out more. As fate would have it, once inside the fort, players cannot leave until the quest is complete. And as promised in the video title, this is where the video branches into two distinct narrative paths. The first, and perhaps most obvious, is where we attempt to aid Alaron and his escape. However, due to us being stuck in here, the second path, the developers have put in a nice little hidden failsafe in case players decide to not follow the hunter's run and break the rules and the quest, so to speak. But exploring option 1 first, as to not spoil the quest prematurely, we speak to Alaron again, and he further shares. So let me get this straight. The Axe of Dragol just doesn't exist.
Clever ruse. I wonder how many have died falling for it.
Can you tell me more about this hunt and hopefully how we can escape?
Kurdan doesn't make most of his money being a simple usurer. He also invented what he calls the hunter's run. People pay him a great deal of money to hunt and kill living human prey. No questions asked, and he takes care of the bodies. He uses the dungeons under Fort Grief as the hunting grounds. I was placed here because he knew someone would go looking for me. I'm sorry you got mixed up in all of this. I hope you can fight. It's our only chance of escaping alive.
Actually, as luck would have it, we may not need to fight. I still have a boat nearby.
Don't bother. The door to this place is now locked. The only way to get out is by descending into the hunter's run and killing the hunters. One of them will have the key to the door. That's Kurdan's rules. It's the only way we can win. I wish I could help more, but I can't fight. I've never held a weapon before in my life. Please, get us out of here.
Alaron then makes a final bid for our aid, promising.
I'm not a rich man, but if we get out of here alive, I'll do what I can to reward you.
Pretty sure Alaron promising septums he didn't have got him in trouble in the first place.
Kurdan is treacherous. Be wary, friend.
Stuck with the breton, we then begin to search the fort and find indeed our exit is barred. Heading up into the main area and up the stairs, we find that there's a lone skeleton sprawled out. On the third floor, we see that the top is open, yet the walls are too high for us to climb. But instead, try our hand at our agility, jumping across some of the remaining pillars intact, seeing a chest over on the far southwest wall. The chest bears a hard lock, and opening said lock, we find inside it safeguards 2 Shadow Banish wines. This begins the quest, A Venerable Vintage, if you haven't already collected some Shadow Banish wine previously, and is a highly sought after item in the game. However, this does not aid us in escaping the fort. Heading back down the stairs, our quest updates reading. If Alaron and I are to survive, I need to proceed down into the Hunter's Run and defeat the hunters being sent after us. According to the rules, one of them will have the key to unlock the door Kurdan sealed behind us. Since Alaron is in no condition to fight, I'll have to seek these hunters out myself. Equipping our sword, we hesitantly step inside the dungeon ahead. Inside the fort, we find ourselves in a dimly lit corridor. To our left is a locked door with a switch behind it, and not far ahead a voice calls out, disturbed by our presence.
Who's there?
In response, we cast Minor Detect Life, switching to our bow and seeing the blurry visage of a hunter who lies in ambush. Peppering our would-be assailant with 2 arrows, we then check the fallen foe's body, dragging the Imperial Hunter into the light. On their corpse, we discover a fur outfit, as well as a healing potion and the first hunter's key. After stripping the hunter, we see the Imperial looks uncannily like us, and so we don their fur trappings in hopes to trick their kin in the dimly lit halls. We then about turn and return to Alaron outside with the key in hand, but he simply further urges.
You must get us out of here. I don't trust Kurdan. Even if the hunters are beaten, make sure you watch your back. Kurdan is treacherous. Be wary, friend.
Making our way deeper into the subterranean passages of the Bloody Gauntlet, we find its interior is littered with traps and bodies of previous victims who unfortunately fell for the amusement of Kurdan's clients. Nearly being crushed by spiky logs that hang from chains above, we keep our wits about us, avoiding the cold waters below and sneaking past all manner of traps until we hear an unfamiliar Nord's voice beckon out to us.
Who's there?
Hoping the Nord will be fooled by our disguise, we summon a skeleton and we skulk around his flank to pierce his cold hide with our arrows, but to no avail.
Die, damn you!
The Nord is seemingly much hardier than we first anticipated, not falling to his own poison traps or the arrows that rain into his fur armor. Switching tactics, we think of the Nord's natural enemy and cast a firebolt that scorches his flesh with a sickening sizzle. On his body, we again find fur armor and a healing potion, the second Hunter's Run key, and some gold. Not lingering, we then head deeper below and find a door to the Hunter's Run abyss to the southeast. In the heart of the once great fort, we dodge the now familiar traps awaiting us. To the left, we find a small chest, no doubt the hunters used to hold their prizes. Plucking a handy headless zombie scroll and a small amount of gold from the inside. Deeper in the dungeon, we open a grated door into the inner sanctuary. Inside we see a headless statue surrounded by water, its purpose long forgotten. Across the small pond we see above the torchlight a lone figure in heavy armor loitering below some stairs. Releasing an arrow towards our would-be attacker, and we cast the treasured zombie scroll spell against him as our own silent guardian, with its unrelenting attacks allowing us to mostly stand back and embrace the irony of the orc's death.
Yeah.
A quest and updates reading. I've defeated all of the hunters. I should search the body of the orc hunter for the key to open the door of Fort Grief. On his body we find his iron armor, potion of healing, gold, and the key for Alaron and I to escape. Our quest and updates reading. I found the key to the door of the keep at Fort Grief. I should now return to Alaron and get us both off this island. With key in hand, we trace our way back through the way we came. Curiously, we see the initial gate near the opening still will not unlock. Regardless, we surface topside to tell Alaron the good news and see a horrific scene playing out between the Breton and his one-time loan shark.
This is the part where you fall down and bleed to death.
Momentarily frozen, we witness Alaron cut down where he stands, the usurer, Kurdan, hovering over his corpse. We then unsheath our sword, enraged that we were robbed of our triumph in beating Kurdan's grisly gauntlet. However, bemused, the orc approaches us, taunting.
I'm impressed that you killed all my clients. Doesn't matter. More will come along with their purses fat with gold and hearts lusting for blood. Too bad about Alaron. Didn't need him anymore now that you're here. At least now he's free of his debt.
Baffled at the orc's nonchalant admission, we exclaim, But I won your game!
Do you really think I could afford to let you leave here? The key you found is a fake. No prey has ever left this island alive. And I aim to keep it that way. You were right about one thing, though. This is my game, and I'm changing the rules.
All pretense of civility drops as Kurdan moves to cut us down. On the level above, a Khajiit materializes, aptly named Khajiira the Keen-Eye, as he casually twangs his bow with a flurry of arrows hurtling down at us atop his perch. Grodragon lumbers forward, hefting his heavy two-handed sword at us again and again with his unwavering orc strength. We know our only hope is to take flight up the stairs behind us and fell the crooked cat before a stray arrow finds its mark. Fortunately for us, the Khajiit made the mistake of attempting to use close-quarter combat. However, our well-placed arrow easily pierces his maw, and, approaching his body, we find, to no surprise, a quiver of arrows, bow and armor, and some gold, but no key. And thus we contend with the treacherous orc, who remains firmly on the ground floor. Sending an arrow in his direction, we lure him up the stairs, realizing that his greatsword sends him off balance with its weight.
Die, Imperials, die!
Thus, we intend to leverage superior agility and footwork to angle the cocksure cretin to the edge of the rocky platform.
Show me what you've got. This ends here.
As he single-mindedly swings at us, oblivious of the ground below. With a final heaving side slash, we send his massive body ragdolling over the edge in a final huff. Our quest then updates reading. I've returned to find Kurdan himself standing over the corpse of Alaron, whom he'd murdered. I've had no choice but to attack and slay him. I should search Kurdan's corpse for anything that may help me get out of these ruins. Descending the stairs, we find the orc, neck broken in a heap with his head resting atop a rock. On his body, outside the standard trappings of his fellow hunters, we discover his true key, and our quest updates again saying, the key I discovered on the orc hunter was indeed a fake, and the real key was on Kurdan's body. He never intended to let us leave, whether we won his demented hunt or not. The real key should allow me to unlock the gate room inside the Hunter's Run and leave Fort Grief. I will then have to bring Ursan the sad news. Turning the switch inside and releasing the main gates, we resurface, seeing dawn has broken, and then we meander down to the dock where our boat, thankfully, still remains so we're not forced to swim as Kurdan had once threatened, and begin our journey back to the city of Bravil. Arriving, we find ourselves returning to the abode of the now widowed Ursan. Approaching her, she braces for bad news.
I fear grave tidings. Something's wrong, I can tell. What's happened to Alaron?
Alaron, he put up a valiant fight, but I'm sorry, Ursan. He is dead.
When I saw the grave look on your face, I knew something had happened to him. And what of that fetcher, Kurdan?
Well, you may rest easier knowing the fate of the usurer. He no longer lives.
Then Alaron's death has been avenged. I told him that the gambling would lead to this, that foolish man, but he never listened. Before you go, I have this for you. Alaron told me that if he ever got in trouble, this could be used to bail him out of jail. He'll not be needing it any longer. And I want you to have it. I'll not take no for an answer. I know you did all you could, and for that I thank you. Now please, go in peace. I wish to be alone.
Our quest then updates and finally reads, I've told Ursan about her husband's death. I said that he fought bravely and that his thoughts were with her before he died. She thanked me for my kind words and bestowed a book upon me that belonged to Alaron. I know that I did the best I could, but at least Alaron's death was avenged. But what about the second, darker and little-known path, assuming the player doesn't mind 1 point of infamy to their name and forgoing a cheap book as a reward? Well, once inside Fort Grief and appraised of Alaron's situation, we can deem him unworthy of his pathetic life and attack him on sight.
Help! Help! I'm being attacked!
Curiously, Alaron will be a more competent brawler than he first let on, and even attempt to wield a sword found on a nearby skeleton, yet sadly will sheath it mid-fight, opting to use his fists.
What's the matter? Getting tired? Am I supposed to be impressed?
Probably due to some residual code that honors his word of never holding a weapon previously. Once deceased, due to being integral to completing the quest, a pop-up will inform us that the quest is now completed as a necessary character is dead, leaving us stranded inside the fort.
May your kills be quick and many.
However, as we need a key to leave, the developers had taken pity on us, and Kurdan, apparently losing all interest in his Hunger Games, will also appear and chat normally. We can then kill him to collect said key from his corpse and escape. Embracing a more villainous playthrough, when returning to Bravil with Kurdan and Alaron dead, the story is not completely broken, and Ursan will be aware that her husband has died. However, in her grief, she will not give us the quest reward, apparently divining that we had not aided her as promised, and only remarks that she wants to be left alone.
Sorry, it looks like you've wandered into a restricted area. You've got to leave. Now. Please. I wish to be alone with my thoughts.
If you want to know where Kurdan ships the bodies after they've died for profit, click the video solving the mystery on the end screen. Also, make sure to like and subscribe for more dark lore.